Good morning. Thank you for joining me here this morning. My name is Diane Forgy Bowersfeld. I'm your state law librarian for Wyoming. Today we're going to be looking at a sampler of some of the free and low-cost legal resources that are out there. As always, our most important message this morning is that we're here to help you. So please don't hesitate to contact us with any questions with which we can help. Just a few reminders before we get started. We're located at 2301 Capitol Avenue in Cheyenne. Our hours of operation are Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4:45 p.m. We serve as the source of legal information for the Wyoming judicial system, with particular emphasis on ensuring the supply of current and relevant materials to our Wyoming Supreme Court. We also serve as a research library for all state government, and through the interlibrary loan system established by the state library, we provide legal materials to persons throughout the state. So our main audience that we serve include a variety of patrons, including our judiciary, our pro se litigants, attorneys, law and paralegal students, Wyoming citizens, and everyday citizens from across the nation, and once in a while across the world. Alright, let's take a look at some of the freely available databases, starting with Cornell's Legal Information Institute. This is one of my personal favorites. It contains a plethora of information that's very easy to find. This site is hosted by the Cornell University Law School, and it was initially created to further the belief that everyone should be able to read and understand the laws that govern them without cost. You'll see here from the slide that they have everything from the legal encyclopedia to federal and state codes, government docs, and federal rules and the CFRs. It's a fantastic resource, and as soon as we go over a few of these, we'll do a little bit of live navigation so that you can take a little bit deeper look at Cornell's Legal Information Institute. The next one we have listed is NOLO. NOLO is a very popular publisher of legal self-help books. Hopefully your collection has some of these books. If not, then I encourage you to investigate these resources because they really help everyday citizens specifically. NOLO is going to have an online dictionary of legal terms, a database of legal articles, and they will have just about every self-help topic that you can think of. They're also a great bang for your buck. You can maximize the dollar and get quite a few copies without using too much of your budget. I think we're all familiar with Google Scholar. Keep in mind there's a specific search option for legal documents in court cases. Again, we'll look at that in further detail here in a little bit. We also have a guide on our law library site to help with the use of Google Scholar as well. For those of you who haven't heard of Justia, Justia is a site that's focused on making primary legal materials and community resources free and easy to find on the internet. When we look at the homepage, we'll see that they have a legal research section where users can gain access to information regarding cases and codes, for both federal and state courts, federal and state government, blogs, legal forums, podcasts, and cases that are usually most current in the news. Another great resource is WashLaw. That's Washburn University's Guide to Legal Research with topics arranged alphabetically by subject and by geographic location. They're a great resource as well. I'm guessing that many of you are already familiar with the WILD databases available through our state library. They, of course, are the experts on these databases, but here's just a quick peek at the WILD databases that our law library accesses the most. I'll just give you a moment to look over those. So many of our county libraries in Wyoming have access to Hein Online. Not everyone subscribes, and some of us are in the midst of either gaining access or eliminating that access. But when you're in Google Scholar, if you're looking for a particular article, and if you have a subscription to Hein Online, it will directly link you to that article, which is very helpful. We also have many of the law review articles and journals in our law library. If any of you ever need those, please just give us a call. We can pull those for you and send them your way. CQ Researcher is a fantastic resource. I actually used that quite a bit in grad school. It's great for the everyday citizen. It's great for someone who's a little bit more academic as well. So I encourage you to look into that if that's something that you think might help your patron population. Legal Track and ProQuest Congressional, also fantastic resources. And American Memory can get addictive, so be careful if you start reading that. Alright, let's go ahead and jump to some live navigation. We'll just take a quick look at some of the sites I referenced earlier. So the key in all of this is to make sure that you take the time to really peruse these sites and see that all that they have to offer. I think we all know as librarians that it just takes time to get to know each database and how we can maximize its value for various types of research. So for me, when I look at Cornell's Legal Information Institute, it's very easy for me to navigate this page. I think it just depends on which database seems most appealing to each individual person. But at the bottom, you'll see the legal resources. The CFR and the US Code are really easy to access here, and I'll show you some other resources here in a little bit where you can also access that. The Supreme Court Bulletin is something that I stay on top of simply because I'm a law librarian, but it's also interesting for everyday citizens as well. You have your parallel table of authorities. And then don't forget your top tabs here that are also very helpful. This legal encyclopedia is a great resource for many of the everyday citizens that come into our law library. Let's go ahead and jump over to Google Scholar now. I mentioned earlier that if you have a subscription to Hein Online, when you enter that legal article, it will directly connect you to it because of your Hein Online subscriptions. So this is what you want to click if you plan on trying to find an article. Go ahead and click Legal Documents if you're trying to find a specific legal document. So for example, if you're trying to find a Supreme Court case, a Supreme Court opinion, you can enter that here. Go ahead and click Legal Documents, or you can drill down further. You can select Wyoming courts, or if you're outside of Wyoming or you need some kind of resource that's outside of Wyoming, go ahead and click Select Courts. This is a fantastic resource. It breaks down all of the different courts, the different level of courts. So then you can go through and you can select if you need Alaska and their Court of Appeals. Keep in mind, Wyoming does not have an intermediate court of appeals. We're a very lean court system. So we have our circuit courts, our district courts, and then our Supreme Court with no intermediate court of appeals. However, many other states may have that court of appeals. In fact, many of them do. So as you're looking through here, if you get confused with what you need, just give us a call and I will do my best to help navigate you to find what you need. Let's go back here to Wyoming courts. Let's just enter an opinion using our universal citation for Wyoming. So this is the year 2013. This tells us it's Wyoming, and this was the 23rd opinion that came out. Here it will give you the entire case. So you can see here who represented the parties. You can see our bench. They sit en banc, so here are all of our Supreme Court justices. And this right here is the justice that wrote the opinion, Justice Voigt. It will take you through what the issue is. It'll take you through the facts, standards of review, discussion, and holdings. And you can do that for every, pretty much every Wyoming Supreme Court case. Now keep in mind, an opinion came out this morning. It hasn't been posted yet, so it will take Google Scholar a couple days to scrape and find those and add that. But if you need one from the day of, let me know. We also have a summary that we can send out as well. So that's just a little reminder about Google Scholar and all that it has to offer. So I mentioned earlier that we have a library guide that helps with Google Scholar. So if you go to our main page, our main judicial branch page, which is courts.state.wy.us, and here on the left you'll see Law Library. Once you go there, you'll see 4 different boxes. And for those of you that attended our orientation a few weeks ago, you're already familiar with this, so I don't want to be repetitive. But right here, you'll see guides and general legal resources in the fourth box. These tend to be really helpful for our everyday citizens. Our attorneys use just a couple of them, especially the legal research apps. But as far as the Google Scholar goes, this is our guide for Google Scholar. So I know many of you are really busy with a lot of patrons coming through the door. So please don't hesitate to copy this off or at least point them this direction, and it takes you through how you can do some basic legal research utilizing Google Scholar. And again, please don't hesitate to look through the rest of these guides as well. Hopefully you'll find them to be helpful. If you ever have any suggestions, we are always open to suggestions, so just give me a call or shoot me an email to let me know what might help you more, and we can make those changes. So our next database is Justia. Justia is really popular, again, with everyday citizens. For me, it's a kind of an overload of information when I first look at the page. But if you take the time to go through it, you'll see the cases and codes here. You can find information on your U.S. courts. One section that's very popular, depending on the demographics of your law library, is this section here as well. So if you have a lot of Spanish speakers that need different resources, I would go ahead and look into this section as well. Cases in the news is always just kind of fun to keep up on. Family law is incredibly popular. Once in a while, estate planning, people come in with questions about that, and we get quite a few questions about the immigration and the criminal law. They also have a lawyer directory. I suggest going to our Wyoming State Bar if you're within the state. If not, you can access this, and then they do have some resources here as well. All right, let's take a look at FDsys. FDsys is a fantastic resource. I will warn you ahead of time. There's a lot of depth to FDsys, and it takes a lot of time and patience to navigate your way through this. It can be a real labyrinth. But once you take the time to do so, it does pay off to know where those resources are. In the future, I hope to do an individual webinar on FDsys just because it is so in-depth. But please just know that it's out there. And if you're feeling like you want to dive in, then just go in and start dinking around. Thomas is another government site. This infrastructure is really aging. So Thomas is being phased out. And you'll see that congress.gov is what's coming up. It's still in its beta form. So when you take a look at it, you'll see that there are many, many resources here as well. And again, I plan to do an individual webinar just on congress.gov in the future. So again, this is just a small sampler of what's out there. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact us, and we will do all we can to help you out. Thanks for your time, everyone, this morning.